Can you hear us, Steve?
That one is.
Can you hear us, Steve? Give me a thumbs up. Okay.
How about Kathy? Is Kathy up there?
Yes, she just signing it. Kathy, can you let us know you're here? Oh, okay, I see you.
There we go.
Everybody's here.
Tidwell, all right, good.
All right, we're live.
Okay.
Yes, you can. Calling the meeting to order. We have 6 board members here present and 2 participating by Zoom. Randy Roman is not able to participate due to a high school golf function. So, but we do have a quorum. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Glad everybody seemed to have survived the Arctic North coming in. So let's go to item number 3, approve the minutes from, first off, from December 21st. I think everybody's already got all the board members commented on that and got their comments in. So anybody have any additional changes or suggestions on the December 21st minutes? Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Okay, Jerry makes the motion to approve. Sam Samuel seconds that. Further discussion? All in favor of approving the December 21st regular meeting minutes, say aye. Let's see. Yep, got 2 more up there. So looks like that's everybody. Okay, motion passes. Same thing on the minutes from January 18th. Should have already been distributed for comments. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th? So Jim Adams, second by Clark. Any other comments?
Just wanted to say thanks to Jenny, because she's the one who really scribed that and did a great job on it too, so thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, all in favor, say aye, or raise a hand. Let's see, where do our people go? Oh, very good too. So, okay, that also passes unanimously. Now to special meeting from February 8th. Anything to note on that, Jim? No special comments, anything on that either. So, okay. Anybody got any further input on those? Do we have a motion to approve the meetings from February 8th? Sam Samuel, second by Jerry. Okay, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye. Okay, 2 more up there. Okay, that motion also passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 4, financial update. Clark Enright, take it away.
Treasurer's report, if we can put that up on the PowerPoint. The microphone, sir. Sorry. We have a PowerPoint up, treasurer's report. Page 2. Bottom line for the month of January, did fairly close to budget on revenue, only $400 off. But we were $400. We spent $400 more than was budgeted.
Received.
What it says.
Yep, that's my bad. Sorry.
And then on the expense side, we saved about $12,600, right? And we'll go through those details here in a moment. So we're 12,000. That's not going to be 12,900 is what you're telling me?
Yeah, revenue, correct. We can amend those for the, you know, so we were positive.
Positive 390. We made 399 more than we thought.
Can you use your
And
microphone?
we saved 12,600 in expense side. So we're for the month of January, year to date, we're 12,984. To the good. Better than budget. Next page, please. Revenue contributors, newsletter ads continue, the communique continues to new and renew ads, up about $3,950. Miscellaneous income, we got our, somehow we get a check from Nortex for our POA franchise tax rebate. I guess Nortex does that to all municipalities in their district.
The large-scale complex communities have multiple-year contractual agreements with internet providers. That is their business model in which to grow their business. It would be my recommendation to the new incoming board that this be high on the priority level for re-evaluation / negotiation in 21-22, as this is a very solid revenue stream for the association. And as we continue to, we don't grow necessarily membership, we have a very desirous population that Vortex, it really hasn't been leveraged. This is another one of those big honking contracts that needs a sophisticated eye, a financial eye, and understanding what's really going on with internet providers and that they've already put in the capital. They've already paid for everything. So their fee services that they're going to be receiving from our membership for the next several years is added in. So my note to the board of directors would be that would be something I would put on the agenda for consideration along with some of the other initiatives we're looking at in Q2 of 21.
Okay.
So this miscellaneous income, is this all the franchise money or is that?
No, if you will look at the detail, which will be on the first page of the income expense report, other income, you can see that those franchise fees down there, that was $9,000
A month.
Okay, you can see all the detail here, right here, for all those numbers on miscellaneous income.
Actually, I believe it's a quarter, not a month.
That's a quarter, well, 9,000 is quarter, yeah.
I didn't think it was 3,000.
And if you'll remember, if you'll look at that list of income items there, everything with the M in front of the description is the miscellaneous income. The others are what they are. As you can see, the next item was green fees. And so, and that's January. So we had a pretty good month in January with respect to green fees. Next item is building permits. We didn't get to issue as many building permits as we had projected. The next item is food and beverage sales. We missed the sales budget by $5,000. But if you'll look on the next page, please, Leanne, there you go. And you look at lodge management food service, they saved on expenses $8,500. which is changing food inventory, salaries, and we did a deep clean in the kitchen. And we'll see some of that here in a little bit as well with the next presentation I'm doing. Also on the expense side, security did better with salaries and benefits, that's headcount, but you can also see, if you're looking at the detail in security, that's a person, or 1.5 persons, but you'll see some overtime to offset that number in the detail. You'll also see a check come in for vehicle repairs, and I believe that check was about $2,100 in security. That was insurance proceeds, and those repairs, you see that insurance check, those repairs will be paid for in February. So that will net away. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
That positive number there will go away in February because those expenses will be incurred.
Is Steve trying to ask a question?
Yes, Steve,
No? Okay.
you're a little bitty and on the right, so I can barely see you. The other item up there is Public Works. Public Works did a pretty good job of hitting their numbers. No real big thing, but their overall Public Works was $3,000, pretty good. And most of that is they use less gas, and they had no repairs to their buildings or maintenance items to the building. Next item is administration. They missed the budget on the expense side by about $5,300. And that's probably caused by general insurance. You're going to see another little presentation on that here in a minute as well. Our insurance went up about $2,500 a month for this coming year.
Which insurance?
Huh?
What type of insurance?
All of it. All of our D&O,
Property casualty?
PNC, all that general insurance. You're also seeing our communications, our subscription to communications went up, and that's all of our internet stuff. Whatever right, Scott?
Oh, sorry.
No.
It's all the little stuff that you order.
Phoenix, Tiva, the
Oh.
Zoom.
All that stuff was
Oh,
over
yes.
budget a little bit.
Yes,
for the
we
month of
increased Zoom
January.
for sure.
Also, the other item there was Payroll and HR Services. We started that new service in the month of January with our payroll provider to give us human resource services. And they're probably going to be building our employee handbook. And whenever we have a separation, they do all of that stuff for us now. And that service, we looked at that a couple of meetings ago. That started in January. Golf course was a little over. The big number there was water. We're going to see some of that in a little bit too. Salaries and benefits and water, we pumped the remaining balance for 2020. And some of that is going to flop over into this next presentation that I'm going to do as well. You'll see some of that there as well. Next page, please. The ARP balance went up by 45.5, and it's $1,732,000 now. The CARP balance, understanding that the CARP balance has inside of it BERF, the Little Lake Management Fund, and Dam Spillway. It's up 35.5, and it's got a balance of 517.5. Lake Management, that's the new $12.50 a month. That went up $18,169, and it now has a balance of $127.4. Delinquent accounts, increase of $350 over December. 30 days is 25 accounts for 7,300. 60 days is 7 accounts for 3,150, and 90 days is I'm sorry, 16 accounts for 24/2. Total of 34,671. We now have 196 members who we are collecting Indian Creek Volunteer Fire Department contributions monthly on.
Okay, on the balances due, there's one or two big ones, and the courthouse has not been processing.
Correct.
Our,
They're not processing quickly,
yeah,
foreclosure.
foreclosures,
Yeah.
so we're kind of stuck until they get back in.
Right.
As far as foreclosing on that.
Correct.
Okay.
And what that would be the initial notices that go out to the mortgage holders and everything. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you. Checking at First State and our checking accounts, 571,000 created. All of our reserve funds and all of our contingency and security deposits are 2,658,000. The balance of all of our accounts, 3,230,000.
Appointment, Mr. Treasurer, Crystal, would you care to make comment on a transfer that it impacts this slide? Go ahead.
Actually, if Leanne goes to the next slide, I put a note in there saying that we made the decision to move $150,000 out of our O&M and put it into the Cedars account just to try and lower the operating and management account, because on average, we keep anywhere from 450,000 to 550,000 in that cash account at all times. And so,
A little much.
Yep.
Also about the PPP.
I can talk to that too. Rick signed the application and it was sent to our bank, First State. And they will review the application one more time. And if they see nothing wrong with it, then they will send it to the SBA for their processing. And at this time, there's no reason for us to not be forgiven for the full $80,000.
Jim,
The CDR that you moved, did that happen in January or February?
I believe it either happened at the end of January or it happened at the very beginning of February.
It's not showing up in this report,
Right.
right?
And actually, it was put into CDR on 2/3.
Okay.
Next item, and it's probably my fault, that financial update 4B should say and take action on budget adjustments, and I didn't get that done. But what I'd like to do is throw up that Excel.
That's not right.
There it is.
Hang on, let me share it.
I'm sorry.
Let me share it.
Everybody see that? You got one on your desk.
a little small.
Okay. You know me, I gotta get up and walk around and point at stuff, right? Especially when you're working with something like this, which is crystals, divides this crazy form. So anyhow, if you'll recall, we had from 2019 that 95,362, right? We agreed to fund the 2,800 for the Golf Genius. We also agreed to fund no more than 92.5 for North Star, which ain't that number, right? So what we have remaining is 2020 excess of 56. And if you'll remember, we had 273,000 in excess. We took 110 of it over here. And we said, this 163, we're probably going to use some of that, right? Don't know how much yet, and we still don't know how much because of the weather. We've been getting kicked. But this 163, we've already started using here. We've used 25 of it so far. If you go back to the top, this is what we've used in January. At 163 is now 138, 226. Right? So we really have 166,093. Yes, sir.
So how do we use all that? How did we use all of that in January? Was it because the budget was hot or because we had a plan to spend?
Those were items from December that didn't get done until January. Go all the way down.
Okay.
See that? December excess to be spent in January. Remember, I told you some of that was going to happen. And if you look at that top one, remember I talked about water when we talked about golf? Look at that number. Okay, and then we also talked about getting the kitchen cleaned, right? There's that number, 5391. That's what those are. And so that's 25,000 and some change that we used out of the 163. So the 163, we gotta keep track of these numbers because that's excess cash. And we gotta use certain amount of time to use it. That's now 138. Yes.
Okay, I'm following you, but, the crack ceiling, isn't that one of those numbers where
We haven't spent any crack seal
we
money.
haven't spent it, but you're still accounting for it as if we have to? Is what you're saying?
Yes. There's going to be more crack seal done because of November and December later on than he has currently in his 2021 budget. And we know it because he didn't spend it in November and December, therefore we had excess in the 2020 budget for that item.
Okay, so right now, we didn't put any number by, when I get it lined up.
We haven't spent it.
We didn't put anything by crack ceiling, the 19 is the water.
We haven't spent it yet.
Right, 19,000.
So as-
Water.
Down at the bottom, as we spend those monies, this number will grow. And we'll come back up to the top and take it away from the 138. So we always tracking that number, because eventually the residual of that number comes over and becomes a part of this number. Right? If we don't spend that money down below, on any of these items down here, we're going to track all that. The residual of this number right here moves to here. Right? Because it's the same year. And that year is unaudited at this time. Right? Okay. Because this is the 6 month. All of this is the 6 month year. Fiscal. Right? Okay. So we've disposed of our 19 is 95,362. We've disposed of that in those two items. What we're figuring out is some things that have kind of hit us, and we've highlighted the ones in yellow that we kind of need to do. Okay. This first item up here is the North Star, and Kathy, you might look at this. This is when we have to run two systems dual for about 3 months. We're not going to? And we don't need it? Somebody need to tell me something. I don't know that.
It's not going to be all systems. It definitely will be TOPS and all the funding that is required there. We'll have some abacus for a period of time. But some will immediately flip over and then we'll shut. I'll use the Kiowa website neighbor. We're not going to run those parallel. We don't have anything that has to be audited. So that would be a clean break.
Okay, so we're going to do away with that number?
I can give you that list and I can get with Crystal and make sure I've got the appropriate monthly cost on those.
We're going to need it. We're going to need what that number is.
Okay, I can do that.
That is 3 months of current, what do we call our current TOPS? Is that what it is? tops and something else. That's 3 months of that to run parallel. That's what that number is.
Right,
Some of it we will, some of it we won't, right? So-
right.
So that number will likely be just what it sounds like, right? Next item here is, HR payroll support. That's going to cost us $4,500 for the year. 45.
On top of the $5,050 for the setup fee, so a total of $9,000.
Total of 9, I'm sorry. We gotta have that. We've already started it. That's important. Next is chemicals and fertilizer. The current budget for 2021 is $96,000. The proposal is for $152 for an additional funding of $56,900. Here's the interesting part of that. The $152,900, what Brian Brown does is he gets he does a order and pricing. Go ahead and price it for him. He doesn't sign a contract for it. Understand he spent $131,000 last year in chemicals and fertilizer. So how do we go from 131 to 96? I don't know. So this is really an increase of only about $11,000 from the prior year.
I think it's fair to say that this budget, there's probably several holes in it because of the COVID budget. And there's a lot of guessing in different places.
There's some guessing. And we did it back in May and June.
Clark, I'd like for Brian Brown to, and I invited him to this meeting this time. He and I meet on a weekly basis and review a myriad of subject matter, but this one in particular was right out of the gate in January. And Brian, if you take a moment or two and give a little history, current, and future, because I don't want this to be viewed as, oh, we're going to get all sorts of new bells and whistles. This is maintaining the current program that you currently have in place. So you could help educate the audience and the board. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Brian, what exactly would you like me to update them on?
Your programs for chemical and fertilizer, application expense, and your overall program that you've had in place for some time, as well as your anticipation for 21.
Sure, no problem. The only major changes to the program that we've used over the last few years is basically just building on what we've done. The biggest change, I guess, as far as a cost standpoint is in the spring, we do a one-time bulk fertilizer application. In the past, we've done the fairways with one product that has a pre-emergent herbicide coated on a fertilizer prill. And then we did a separate product in the roughs last year to make that application a little bit easier and provide a bit of more consistent weed control program. This year I've budgeted for the same product to be applied on all areas, that being the tees, fairways, and the roughs. A second kind of a increase in expenditure was I do usually every 2 or 3 week application to a nutrient application to our tees and fairways. In that application, there's a wetting agent component, and basically what the wetting agent does is makes the irrigation water a little bit more efficient, holds that water in the root zone a little bit longer, with the thought being that if we do this correctly, we can reduce water on those areas, tees and fairways. I tried a new product last year, and I really liked the results, and so I'm kind of expanding on that program. And then the third kind of change or addition, my chemical and fertilizer program is over the winter, I've gone ahead and increased the number of foliar applications, foliar nutrient applications to the greens, including what I've called a winter strength program. And that way we're kind of building and storing more carbohydrates. So the transition from dormancy into the spring should be a little bit smoother than in the past. And so those are the three kind of main areas that I've made a few little tweaks to the program. What I feel like I do is I find what works, and then if I find ways to enhance that program, that's what I'm willing to do. I'm not trying to do the newest, greatest, latest, what I'm hearing. I want some proof in the pudding before I'm willing to implement the program. And basically all I've done is just kind of just made some minor tweaks and enhancements to the current program that seems to have been working very successfully over the last 3 or 4 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Could I ask?
You bet.
a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Brian, everything you said.
We need you to talk right into it.
Okay, everything you said makes sense to me, and it all sounds good. But my question was, the things that the way I heard Clark say it was, we started out with, in 2019, we had a $131,000 budget. In 2020, we have a $96,000 budget. So effectively, you lost $35,000 in your budget. And now, when we should have probably kept it the same or more to begin with, it sounds like, because the COVID didn't cause the grass to go away. So I think that's what I'm hearing. And so, but now we're asking for above the 131, about another 20-something thousand. So you're saying these additional applications are that spreading it over the fairway, the same chemical, which is more expensive across both fairway and rough, and this extra application that holds the water. Is that, am I generally saying that right?
Yeah, that's simplifying things a little bit, but overall, in the past, I haven't had as much input on my line item, but the line items in my budget as I would have liked. I've been able to kind of do what works for me and still stay closely within that budget number. But I'm really not doing any much something that hadn't been factored in the past. Is the cost of chemicals and fertilizer does go up, and we haven't really adjusted for that as far as our line item, with the chemical and fertilizer line item in the budget.
I guess I'm just saying, going forward, if I could make a request going forward, that if you came to us and let's just say it was 131,000 and we were starting, and you were saying, I really need 150,000, I would be wanting you to explain to us what different programs you're doing this coming year in the next budget process. So that
Absolutely.
or you could just say,
We can do that.
or whatever. So that's all I was trying to get out of this and let everybody better understand is, are we doing something different above what I heard Clark says, 131 was the base a couple of years ago? And I feel like.
No, last year was 131. I don't know what 19 was.
What's this 96?
Last year was, that's the budget for the 2021.
Okay, well, the 2021 budget was the budget.
So if you spend 131 in the year 2000, 2021 went down to 96.
Right.
I don't quite
And that's
understand.
why I started out saying there's a lot of things. in the
Yeah.
budget we do were kind of different because
Right.
we're doing COVID budget.
Yeah, so what I hear you say, though, is you would like to have each department head come and kind of present their budget. Is that what you're asking for? Yeah, I know, other organizations I've been on, the boards or the finance committee on, that's how we did it. We actually had the department heads come in and do that. So that might be a bad idea. Do you like that idea, Brian?
It will happen.
Sure.
Good idea, especially since I won't be here. Next item here is roads and bridges. I always thought that was 250 out of O&M, but it seems to, it's at 195. But that's not a must, as I understand. Well, it kind of is, but we'll get there, okay? So let's put that in our pipe and smoke it. Next is our federal income taxes. We know it went up. That's $22,000 a year. We know our quarterly payments went up. We typically will get something back on that, but that's our quarterly payments that we must make.
And some of this is predicated upon the additional excess funds that we saw on multiple slides earlier, where they're time sensitive. And if we do not commit to projects or actually have to spend, the 28% taxable line level on that kicks in.
Okay. Next item is the new email system from GoDaddy to Microsoft 365. That's only about $2,400. Okay. Next item is cybersecurity. That's $2,520. Remember, we looked at that a couple of months ago. Kathy presented us a cybersecurity situation that's insurance. Isn't that right? Next item, if we approve this in November, December, that was a little increase in the Christmas bonus for the staff. This is taking that same situation and moving it to 2021 in December. The next item is the golf marshal and starter salary. This $35,781 is based upon Brown's numbers that he gave us. That's a almost a $30,000 increase over the current budget. And then the last item down here, which I talked to you a little bit about in the treasurer's report, is an increase in our general insurance administration. That's a $30,000 annual increase, about $2,500 a month. Okay. If you'll look down there, you see subtotal at the bottom. All of those things is total $233,000. Now, we're going to do something about the North Star administration deal. Running 3 months, we're going to get a better number there. But I think the rest of those numbers are really, really good. And it totals 233. The highlighted ones, look to the left, to the right of that, the highlighted ones total 145,790, and the unhighlighted ones total 87,000. Okay? You'll also see a number there under the subtotal called the difference. Let me explain that. The difference is the 233,091 right above it there, over the top, less these two numbers, which is 166,093. That's what the difference is. So that difference is a number we got to come over here and grab if we don't spend it down here. You see what I'm talking about? That difference of 67,000 is a number we've got to watch. Remember, I told you to watch this number right here because we spend it down here. This is where we're spending that genuine money. We got to go there. That's where that 66 has got to come from. And actually, if we can get away with get rid of the 16,000 3-month dual system run, that number becomes 50. This is where we got to go get it. And that's the reason I calculated that number, so we can look at that number all the time. Though this is the only place to get it from. So we need to watch our expenditures down here. Right? And we do know that this number, the residual of this number, after we go that, comes over here and hits this right here. But I'm giving you the $50,000 delta that we gotta go there and get to make all that happen. That makes sense?
Complicated, but yes.
Well, Crystal did spreadsheet how to do that. So this, huh?
Challenge is your delta that we have, that you're talking about. We don't know what that is. Just like we had money kick in on this month that you didn't expect. We don't know what's gonna happen in the coming months, so.
Yeah, but that's next year, that's next year's excess. We're working off of prior year's excess.
138?
The 130, if you'll remember, the excess for the 6 months
That's the 6 month.
was 273,000. That's the 6 month excess. If you remember at the last meeting, on that 273, there were things that didn't get done in November, December. A lot of things. But what we could recognize as true excess was this 110. And that's the reason I segregated that. Now, this number, we're going down here and doing these expenses and taking them away from this number, now that number's that. But we know this number eventually ends up here. Remember that? We talked a lot about that.
So Clark, and we have a potential $80,000 PPP loan forgiveness.
That's not going to show up anywhere here.
Not
Non-cash.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, it's gone. It's a non-taxable event. Non-cash, non-taxable. We took the cash and made payroll to the lodge.
Okay.
Period. What we did is save some of our expense by making that payroll out of PPP. That's it. And that was,
All would have already been reflected in our positive numbers.
well, that would have been last year.
Right.
That would have been in June 30, 20, because those funds were expended in April, May, and June for that payroll period. They're here. That was already spent here.
So that'd be a bracketed number without that 80.
Correct. That would have been a negative without the 80. Or we wouldn't have kept employees on while the lodge was shut down. That was the purpose of the PPP, was to make sure you kept your employees employed. Payroll protection. Yeah.
Can I say it one more time? So, and when I say it out loud, you go yes or no, so I'm proving I'm getting it. So it was 273 or something we started with for
Correct.
the end of that 6 month period. You were projecting 110, so you already took that out. We're really down to 138, so we really have 28 to play with still. Because
No,
the 110, you pulled it out as a projected 6 month already.
the 110 I pulled out because we felt very sure that that would be true excess.
Okay, are you saying we're gonna still spend the 138?
We might not.
But if it didn't happen in 20, I mean, I can see if it goes from 2019 or 2020 to 21 in the first month or two, those
We're not through the first month or two yet.
we're almost through the second month. So I can see those.
But we're not.
Okay.
And the weather event created some issues for us and getting things done. Like crack sealing. We haven't been able to do any crack sealing whatsoever, which was scheduled.
And so we just have to have, I understand. And it's just, we have
And there are other
to
lines.
have to make changes in the next budget, not
Right.
just this.
What I am saying is there could be a sizable piece of this roll over here and become excess for this whole 6 month period. There could be a sizable piece of that. I don't know yet.
Okay. We're saying the same.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You know, when COVID came about, we went ahead and put in the starter position for the golf course. Now, is this something that we're going to have to continue? Because, you know, for years and years, we would check in the pro shop sign in, go play golf? Is this something that we're going to have to continue on?
Mr. Romance isn't here.
Pardon?
Mr. Romance is not here.
I think we said
This is his topic.
I think last meeting we were generally talking about it, and or at least I was in the talk meeting where I heard this. What we should do is monitor the situation for the first few months to see if what they're doing with starters and Marshall is helping the situations that are at hand. And if it does help, continue it on. If it doesn't help, stop it. But we're still under COVID, and you really should go in there and sign in.
Yeah, I was just thinking out loud, not to lock ourselves into this, if later on we don't need the starter,
You're gonna get to do a new budget here at some point. And
Yeah, I saw Mr. Fauci on the news at lunch saying we'll still be wearing masks in 2022. So,
I don't believe anything that guy said, so it doesn't matter. Any questions?
you done?
I'd like to, I wish I'd put on here, take proper action, but we're gonna do that next month. On those budget items. So you got a month to think about it.
I suspect we'll need to actually have action prior to the new board being engaged. With your knowledge and what you've given to your fellow board members, that we may need to convene a special meeting to review this, because this is some big money moving around, and it's well orchestrated and the plan is there, but for the new board to walk in, I'd like to talk to the executive committee about that at some times if we need a special meeting.
We can do that, and I'm happy to do that. And I've also told you that I will do as much as I can over a 2 or 3, 4, 5 month period to help the new treasurer, whoever that may be.
All right, thank you.
Because it's a lot to swallow.
I like that idea, but as we get, and we could have a special meeting to do that, and having Clark here would be great and involved in it. But as we do that, there are, like, I think some of these yellow things, most of them are almost a must. And it's just something missed on the budget or something. And then some of the yellows may be questionable. And then some of the whites are for sure optional. And I guess we need some kind of presentation on those items to say why they're important, why you must do that, or why we have to do it now, and we can't wait until the next budget.
Okay, thank you, Clark. Let's see, lost my agenda. There we go. So really this treasure report and that really encapsulated the item B as well, the prior fiscal year excess cash report. We don't have anything else on that, do we, Crystal? Okay, all right, good. Okay, nomination committee, Jerry Slater, you here, committee update or election update? Right. Yeah, and I forgot the exact numbers. Scott, do you remember those exact numbers? How many have voted so far?
Yeah, the 3 o'clock, we have.
As of 3 o'clock this afternoon, we have e-voting participation on the board election was at 630. And they're looking here. 631 for the board of directors elections and 623 votes for the bylaws currently.
Okay, thank you. So not a real heated election so far, I guess. And we have another week, and we continue to send out notices to those people, right?
Yeah, this last week is going to send out 3 email reminders to those voters who haven't voted as of yet. They will have till midnight on March 2nd, which the voting will close.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, item number 6, COVID committee from Kathy Gray. Ray, Kathy, do you have updates for us?
Yes, I do. Can everybody hear me?
Go ahead.
Right now, as of Friday, the 19th, Kiowa had 3 active cases. This is the lowest we've seen it in months. All of Cook County is coming down, just as you're seeing in most parts of Texas. So that's all good news. I've got the counts, of course, in the larger communities around us. They're coming down also, but of course their active numbers have been so much higher, their fatalities so much higher. But state of Texas is 2.2 million that have been confirmed, 202,000 that are active, and 41,000 fatalities in the state of Texas. Cook County fatalities are at 58. I think we added another resident from Gainesville this last week. Everything for the last week, the bad weather, the clinics were shut down, the testing was shut down, so we didn't do anything. We did get vaccine last week, which we were going to distribute, didn't get to, so we're going to do 400 doses on Tuesday, and that will be second doses only at the Civic Center in Gainesville. We are doing 1,700 vaccines on Thursday, and we're starting at 8 a.m. and working till 5 o'clock or till we get them all done. That one is by appointment only, and it is a first dose. So we were really pleased to see the amount of vaccine increase for Cook. One thing that I'm hearing a lot of confusion about, since so many of us and throughout Cook County and Texas are now getting vaccine, either 1 or 2 doses, people are thinking we can back off masks. That is not a CDC recommendation. Abbott is early endorsing we continue to wear masks because of the different strains of the virus. And you can still, just as when you get a flu shot with the influenza and the other flus, you can still get a flu. So you cannot stop wearing masks, and none of that will change. Our signage will stay in place. And right now they're predicting it goes into probably 2022, but we'll see. And of course, the governor and the CDC, we've now got a new president, so we'll see what changes, but it is still mandatory to wear a mask in public. And none of our seating arrangements will change at this time. Once again, we'll look to Governor Abbott to give us that direction if he's going to open up more for restaurants, and maybe in the warmer months when we can really be outdoors and take advantage of our pavilion, maybe some things do change. But for now, we're still following the same guidelines. Does anybody have any other questions on COVID?
I'd just like to make a comment concerning the COVID immunization program that was run up there to Gainesville. My wife and I went in, and I was very impressed. And I wanted to just pass along to Kathy and to the CERT team as to the way it was handled, organized. It was in residents from here at Kiowa that were participating and having. It was just a really good thing to see, and I just wanted to pass a compliment along.
Thank you, Sam. We've worked really hard, and we wanted it to be a pleasant experience. People are nervous, so right now we're doing 65 and older with underlying conditions, and some people that are younger than 65. So we just wanted to make sure that we made it as easy as possible and as quick as possible. We're not Texas Motor Speedway, and nor could we handle those kind of volumes, but we're trying to make it the best we can, working with the EMS team and of course all the nurses from the Gainesville Hospital, Munster Hospital, First Family. We're working with all the different agencies within Cook County. So we're just glad to see the 1,700 doses coming up this Thursday. Our CERT team is about 20 people, and most of us have taken turns, shifts, so that we can make sure that we're supporting the medical teams to do what they do so well. And the nurses are so fast with that injection. The item that takes so much longer is the 15-minute observation. And they don't want you to get in your car until they've had a chance for EMS to kind of observe you. We have yet to see anybody get ill, which is great because we've done, I think, 8 clinics so far and nobody has gotten ill. I've heard people maybe have some flu symptoms later in the day or the next day, but everything's running good. So keep your fingers crossed. We keep going.
Kathy, I want to echo Sam's appreciation, not just for this current work on the vaccines, but your whole willingness on the committee to jump right in there from the get-go on this and all that you've gone through this year. So I'll say more at the annual meeting, but I don't know if you'll be there at the annual meeting, but if not, I do want to say I appreciate all your work on it as well.
Thank you so much. And we enjoy it, and it's not a bother. Most of us are retired, and we've got 1 or 2 that work full-time, part-time that have helped us. And some of American Legion 265 has helped us. So there's so many in Kiowa that would love to come. We could just only use so many, and we really need trained volunteers for this.
Leanne, do you have something?
I do. So I got a message from Ed Cook, and he wanted me to read it to specifically to you, Kathy. He said, I'd like to recognize all of the Kiowans who volunteered to help organize the COVID vaccine shots at the Gainesville Civic Center. There are too many to name individually, but I know I felt safe and welcome with their spirit and coordination. I am confident any Cook County resident who was there had the same opinion. Again, that was Ed Cook.
Okay, thank
He
you.
left that message.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
Brings us to item 7, committee updates. New member changes committee. I know we'll be needing some new committee chairmen after the board election and everything. So whoever's the president then will be working on that. I don't know, I didn't get any notes on any current committee changes. Does anybody that's a committee chair know have any on your committee? Hearing none of those. Okay, looks like Architectural Control Committee discuss and take possible action on reconstitution of lots 1110 and 1111. Jim Adams.
All right, yes, the Architectural Control Committee was presented with a reconstitution, and notice it says reconstitution of 1110 and 1111, because these lots, or several lots around there, actually 1107 through 1111, were deconstituted. I think it was actually last February. And so now, Mr. Sophie would like to reconstitute the 2 lots so that he can build between the residence that he's already built on one of the properties, and then connect to the garage that's on the other property. But that's not what we're approving tonight, the construction. Again, we're just, I'm going to recommend the motion to approve the constitution of 1110, 1111, and then at a later date, the Architectural Control Committee will receive requests for permits to build across that, what is the property line right now, which will no longer be a property line. So some of that is detailed in the package you have, but that's not really what we're working on.
So how are you handling the fee normally associated with the constitution of 2 lots?
I would say as the rule that states.
The 15,000 or whatever it is. So, okay.
Hasn't come up as anything different, but I can ensure that's the case if that's what, unless you guys like to do something different.
Well, he hasn't requested that yet, so that's good. Any other questions for Jim on that particular lot? Everybody know where that is?
Jim, could I say something real quick?
Here, Michael wanted to talk.
Okay, I spoke with Jason Sophie just a couple of minutes before we came on, and he said that even though you all approved to deconstitute those lots, he only handled, I believe it was 1107, 1108. The and forgive me if I got those numbers wrong, but the 1110 and 1111 being that he was building those for himself, and it was going to require him to redraw the line between the two properties. He never did anything with the county on those two lots. So as it stands now, it's still constituted as one lot. So the board would be approving is just to reverse the original decision. But he said he has been paying dues on both lots as if they were deconstituted. And he doesn't have a problem with that, but nothing was done with the county as far as deconstituting those two lots. And so the county still shows them as one lot.
Yeah, that's what I understood by an email exchange earlier today too. But just because it didn't go, I mean, this board acted on it and approved it in Constitution, and he's subsequently been paying membership dues on all those lots separately, I hope. And so now we're putting them back together. The rule calls for certain fees to be paid in advance as part of the Constitution now. And I think that's what Rick was asking. So just because it didn't go through the county, I don't think that changes anything for us unless we want to.
Okay, I think we would probably, look for him to initiate such a request.
Sir. I mean, effectively been paying us separate dues now for a year.
Right. But the county's never platted it as such.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's something you and our attorney might want to discuss in terms of the rules there, I think.
Yeah, let's do, Mr. Sophie has a request first.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. So is that a motion now?
I'll move that we, approve the constitution of lots 1110 and 1111. And if you'd rather me use that to just rescind the last vote, I don't know why we would. I don't know. I mean, because we did approve the vote and it's happened. So, but I think I'll just make my motion that we approve the constitution of lots 1110, 1111.
We have a second. JC, second set. Any further questions for Jim? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Let's see, there's Kathy, where's Steve? Yep, Steve's okay. So, anybody opposed? Okay, I think that motion passed unanimously. All right. Thank you, Jim. Bylaw committee, I don't know that we have anything from Corky there, so I don't know anything there. Communications committee, Kathy Gray, do you have anything on that?
Yeah. Yes, we met last Monday, a week ago. We didn't go through a lot of items, but Leanne had mentioned that they had been they printed 7,500 communiques. We also had been requested by our committee to try to reach out to other communities and online and see what other communities similar to us, although there's not a lot of communities like us, but we'd like to get some new ideas. And this was really, of course, driven by Leanne, which it should be. And so we're all spending spare time trying to look at some. I think I found some from a couple of communities on the other side of the border in Oklahoma. Much simpler, very small, and they don't do the advertising we do. So once again, we're going to put everything we can find and review them at our next meeting and just see if there's some other things we can kind of update and, you know, kind of give it a different look and feel. Not to panic anybody. We're not going to take anything away. We would just add to it and make it maybe a little more easy to read and appealing. The other item that came up, the celebration committee would be meeting, I think, that same week. I don't think it was last week. and they'll be discussing Easter and July 4th. So they're gearing up to begin to get ready for the new year and some of the things that they're, I guess, between the old FOL and the Celebration Committee. I don't know if all that's been worked out, but I think they did establish a list of what each area would do. And I guess we'll see what happens with their planning.
Kathy, I was a little confused. She said something about printing 7,500 or what did you say there?
Yeah, 7,500 copies of the communique.
How much is that? That seems like a lot.
That's what she said.
1,700.
Oh, 1,700, sorry.
17. That was like, man, who do we send these to? I couldn't figure that one out.
Every household.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing is that March 1st, we're going to have our kickoff conversation with North Star and begin the launch of implementing their program into our community.
March 1st.
And to that, Michael Pike will be the point person between North Star and Lake Kiowa POA on that, and using the existing staff as we move forward with that, just so everyone recognizes that Michael's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Michael. Okay, I know Jim, let's see, Randy is not here, nothing on the golf committee. Let's see, Lake Management, Jim said he didn't have anything, I believe. Sam, safety and security, I think you did have something, is that right?
I just want to mention that the East Gate project is moving along, and Scott has worked at it real hard getting things together. The contract, or I guess you could say, Scott, are in the process of being taken care of. Concrete, the gates, etc. Would you like to comment on that?
Chris is on here if you want him to.
Yeah, I'll let Chris Weiner answer those questions. Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, to answer those questions, we have ordered the gates, the gate arms already. Scott got that done Friday. So there's a 4 to 6 week lead time. And right now we're looking at March 29th and being on ground. From there, we'll start, once they're on ground, we'll start all the work, because I want everything to be on ground so that that gate is not down longer than it needs to be. So then we'll do all of our work from our public works department, and as well as our concrete, and pouring all our forms and everything from there. Once the concrete is cured, then we'll set the new arms in place. They'll be working just fine as they should. And we'll be back up and operational from 7 to 10 business days.
Thank you, Chris. The reason I bring it up is the fact that to let residents know that the East Gate project is moving along. There will be two entrances, a resident-only entrance, fast gates, 4 second gates. But while all the construction is going on, one of the things that the residents are going to have to keep in mind is the fact that the main gate will be the gate to which we will be coming in, which there will be some traffic, I'm sure, situations come up. Hopefully everyone will be patient and realize what's going on. And I think the projection time is about a month to complete the project. So anyway, just to keep everybody informed of what's happening and what's getting ready to take place, and it will be better whenever we have it finished. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, we will have a full communications campaign. We've already met several times to start preparing that. So the community will be completely informed in every way possible, that we can get the information out to them so they'll know well in advance that it's going to close down, what days they won't be able to access the front gate. But most of it will happen behind the scenes. The only time it's going to be closed is during that repaving. So, but we will have a campaign just to make sure everyone is up to date.
The other thing, the security committee, safety and security committee in the past, we looked at, we've had some complaints from different residents concerning, call them UTVs, ATVs, operating on the roads, high speed. In fact, during the snow time that we had, on my street, I had a bright green UTV that came down the street very fast, went into a cul-de-sac, got down and started doing donuts, spinning around. And of course, the Safety and Security Committee is looking at this from that standpoint that not only for a safety aspect, but something that violates the rules that we have. And so we will probably be making recommendations later on as to making sure that security is involved in what's happening.
All right, thanks, Sam. Item number 8, community manager report from Brian.
My report was rather brief as of Wednesday or Thursday when I submitted it, not last week, but the week before. I have added 4 supplemental reports from each of the key department heads from Public Works, the golf course team, and I'd like to make sure that you take an opportunity to see the methodology in which we approach this storm, with the intent of safety to be first and foremost, communication between the department heads ongoing, the work that was done behind the scenes from people at home, and a special note on the gatehouse. There are a series of communiques going around that reference that as an abandonment, which is cheap shot, but that's okay. I got thick skin, I'll take that on. It certainly wasn't, but that detail of what occurred day by day within hours and some guards was put together by Scott, who went out of his way and was above and beyond for multiple days, acting in the security department himself, having known the community and doing this. Was it perfect? No. Was there exposure? Yes. Could there have been some things done better? Yes. But collectively, the team not only acted, but had the best intentions of the POA and the staff in general at best at all times. Now, as it relates to compensation, we handled this in terms of processing payroll today as a weather incident in the old handbook that is identified as a actual cause and something that can compensate staff for. It's not overtime related, it's not extra, it's a matter of making staff whole for this unusual event. And I followed the similar protocol that the previous community manager and board had outlined for COVID. So if you're asked about that, was the Sarahs of the world made whole? Yes. Okay, so you just need to have that in your hip pocket. These reports, follow a particular methodology that I particularly like. I'm open to comment. If you would like to edit or make recommendations, I'm certainly open to them as well. On the other reports from the managers, I would like for you to take a moment and read Crystal's. Hers is pretty interesting, as she was indoctrinated into the MOD program and how someone who hadn't seen much of the community previously views things a little differently. There's a bit of humor into it. She's a pretty good writer. But at that point, that completes the community manager report.
Any specific questions from board members to Brian? Kathy's got one. Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
I want to thank many of the members of Brian's team that stayed in communication with a lot of us. Me being on the IS committee, obviously, I know Scott and Chris and Michael are all getting pretty involved, probably more so than they envisioned. But, you know, that was such a surprise storm, and the weather was just horrible. But I know we learned some things about our guardhouse, and, you know, we're in a point now where we're kind of half in, half out. What are we going to do with it? How can we make it better? We know our disaster recovery things we had put in place with the generator did not work because of the cold weather. We know the SUD had some major issues because of the cold weather. And I don't know, Rick, what the process or what's the protocol for us to get with Ronnie and go through what is his disaster recovery plan. Obviously, once we decide what to do with the guardhouse, we'll be putting together a different disaster recovery plan, whether it's at the guardhouse, log cabin, whatever we decide to do. But I wasn't sure what's the process that we need to follow so we don't lose sight of what happened and where the breakdowns occurred. Is that something safety and security should be looking at with the different entities, or how, or maybe Brian, you've got some ideas how you want to go forward and not, you know, we don't need to get on it tomorrow, but we certainly need to put all of the points that we know failed, and then how are we going to address those?
Okay, and I have tried to reach out to Ronnie by email, and all I had was his personal email. I couldn't find one for him, the business one, but I have suggested a meeting to discuss, among other things, communications during events like this. What role does the TOA have? What role does the SUD have? I'll continue to try to reach out to him and call him and go by if I need to set something up.
Okay. That's it. I didn't want to drop things. I made notes through everything that I had been involved with, and of course what I could see from the communication plan, which, you know, took a while to get that one going. But once again, we need to know the mechanics of it and get that addressed sooner than later. I know we hopefully won't have a freeze that bad again this year, but it can happen again. So
yeah, hopefully only once every 100 years.
So that's right.
Madam, she got something.
Kathy mentioned the staff, and I too like to thank them because I know they were working long hours and doing extra things and extra great reports this time and everything. But I'd also like to, I mean, part of the SUD and the reason that came back, we have a member who was here. I think Sam helped the SUD bring it back online. So I'd like to thank Sam. Was he one of those people that helped the SUD? Thanks a lot to those people.
Amen. Thanks to that whole crew. I mean, there was some real, I was there, not helping. Well, I wasn't over at the pump. I was watching them gather stuff. But there's some real savvy members that we have that came up with a plan that they were told wasn't going to work, and it did. Yep. And we've just got some real good, industrial savvy. It gets the job done. And for that, we still wouldn't have one. That's right. And we need to recognize that whole group. I think that whole group they're just good guys. That's all there is to it. And they really did a good job. I would think that, Brian, what they did, we probably ought to follow up on. I'm not saying that Ronnie ought to go buy those heaters, but Ronnie ought to know at all times where those heaters are that he can go get them, his access to them. But I do believe he needs to house that pump. They had to build a tent around that pump and then put those heaters in there. But that pump should be, I think he needs to house that somehow.
Put a house ramp.
It's fine to be open on the ends that you can lower a flap, but that thing is exposed. And probably, you know, I mean, I don't know. The event that we had was horrific and hadn't happened in a long time, if ever. But there could be some things, you know, tornadoes, certain things happen during the summer that could expose that pump as well. And so, just thinking that, however we can communicate with Ronnie and Kathy, Kathy just told us about it. And we need to communicate with Ronnie, and we thank Sam and Wayne and Mike and all the guys that worked over there. They did a great job. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, this was not an isolated event. How many millions in Texas were without water? I mean, we had friends from Denison had to come over on Saturday. They still didn't have water. They took showers. So, yeah. So I know it was an inconvenience for us, a little more than a day, I suppose, but not near as bad as a lot of other places. Okay. Item number 9, additional business. Anybody have any additional business? Jim Fox?
I just want to mention that the funding, the money that's been donated to trees, all of that is in progress right now, and hopefully in the next couple, 3 weeks, you'll see those trees planted from that. So I just wanted to let you know that we're acting on that. And also, with one of the previous meetings that we talked about tennis court lighting, so the contractor has been contacted, he's not responded yet, but we'll progress with that also.
Anything else? Dave, did you have something still? Okay.
It has to do with comments from the members, is that, should I wait?
Oh, yeah, you want me to do the member comments first then?
Either way.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Okay. So we had 4 questions submitted by email from members. So the first one, forget my glasses. Thomas Peckerman, lot 611. This regards proposed rule changes. Why are we concerned about the size of someone's swim spa pool? A permit process is already required for these, so control does exist. If the goal is to ensure placement, not to use architectural upkeep, all is good. Why do we need to mandate a sign? It's kind of a long note here, but I think Jim Adams, you looked at that, and we're going to make a response to it.
Yes, the original rule that was proposed was really an effort to keep above ground pools from becoming out of control. And we had some definition of above ground pools, but there came a discussion in our committee, well, what if somebody built a plastic above ground pool and put a jet in it? Is it a swim spa? So we tried to define something. So we put the limit on the size. After getting several comments from the public by different means, and now this question too, but we took it back to the committee to say, let's relook at this. And what now we're going to be proposing, I've sent it around to the board, and so none of these rules are in effect as of yet, but we'll act on them. This committee board will act on them next month. But the new proposal will be more along the lines of a swim spa will be anything that's self-contained, much like what we're used to on spas. It's just as long as all the equipment and everything is self-contained, then we think that will serve the purpose. So that's the new general direction.
Okay, so the currently can just take out any inch of size.
Right, and we're going to do that on the spa too, swim spa and spa, just as long as it's self-contained, it includes the equipment, the electrical, and it's basically a fiberglass inside its contained structure.
Okay, thank you. And the same gentleman had a question regarding the rule changes regarding placement of trailers or these things like that. And so he did recognize that many did not read the rule change clearly and thought they were losing, and that is not the case. So that's a correct statement there. We're just trying to figure out the best way to measure it, because very few people actually know where their property line is, unless for some reason we've had a recent survey. I guess Courtney Cahoon has pointed out that the water meter should be just outside our property line. So if that is a correct statement, that would be a good measuring point, just measure from just inside of your water meter. And then we also talked about measuring from the road, edge of the road, or the center of the road. Both of those have problems as well. Sometimes our roads erode on the sides. Sometimes the right of way is not, the actual paved part is not in the middle of the right of way. And we have different right of way widths and everything. So there's a lot of problems there. So this is something we need to continue to evaluate before we really start enforcing something along these lines. So we're aware of the issues there and trying to come to resolution on that. Anybody got any other comments on that issue?
Is that going back to the rules of safety committee?
Not yet, not yet. So, but, okay. We need to have them do that. Next one was from Denny Daly, lot 950. Are there any plans to develop the land that the POA purchased? I believe it's 50 acres or so. Yeah, that's the 52 acres. Nothing in concrete. A lot of people look at it. So, Jim, are you still on the land use committee, right? Just kind of give an update on that.
Yes, we, just to give a summary, the current property is basically it's a wash on our ongoing cost because the taxes are minimal because it's an ag property. And we also receive income from the people that lease it from us to run ag. So right now it's a net neutral on ongoing cost. Property's increased in value since we originally purchased it. As far as any particular plans, no, we've continued to have it kind of highlighted in our surveys each year to try to determine what to do. With this year, we're trying to focus more on building a master plan for the 52 acre tract and what we might do. And so we've stressed that a little stronger in the survey. So I encourage all the members to go out to the survey and say what's important to you for that. And then based on that, we'll work with the Parks Committee, the Security Committee, and any other committee that overlays the needs for that, and we'll develop a master plan that everybody can see, and then we'll work from there.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Let's see. Next one from Henry Morgan, lot 1403. This question is probably being asked by multiple residents in light of the recent power loss and the effect on the water at Lake Kiowa. What steps can be taken to prevent happening in the future? I plan on building on my lake lot and living in Kiowa full time. I'm concerned if we face another no water scenario. We can install a backup generator for power, but unless I build a reverse osmosis desalination plant for my property, water would not exist. Maybe that type of plant for our lake residents, maybe a backup generator so water towers don't breach, just asking. So first off, I do need to point out that, of course, our power company is a totally separate entity, Intex. And they did take some steps to increase reliability out here just a couple of years ago out there. And again, it's a statewide deal, rolling blackouts and everything like that. I look at what happened in other areas, and I'm kind of thankful that Intex there for us, I guess. So, secondly, the water department or the special utility district is a totally separate entity as well. They have their own community, their own manager, general manager, and they have their own board of directors. So anybody that really wants to have an impact on that should try to get on the board of directors there rather than looking to the POA to really do something. Now, as I mentioned, we are trying to set up a meeting with the water department and particularly to talk more about communication. But as far as the actual day-to-day operations and things they do to their facilities, that's really up to their board of directors, not us. Anybody got anything to add on that? Okay, last one that was emailed in, Mark Clark, lot 728. He says, I find it totally unacceptable for the guard shack to be in effect abandoned during such a crisis as we just experienced. Gates left totally open to whoever. And this kind of response is not what we pay our dues for. What remedies actions is the board going to take to ensure such a response to the crisis not occur in the future? And I'm going to ask Brian to be the first to respond to that.
The reports which I submitted to the board will be made public, and Leanne will make sure that they're on there to give the line by line, blow by blow on what went down with the guard. Interesting terminology, shack versus stand. But yeah, our house. But no, there are some positive takeaways from a learning moment, as you call it. But ultimately, the decisions to not have manpower there were primarily driven by a safety factor, the lack of not being able to have bathroom facilities. You go down, it's just a laundry list of things for really what forced the closing on it. And then the little footnote, and this may sound like a cop-out, but it's the reality, operating that department without a chief at all, and one full-time equivalent out due to COVID. So we were exposed for 30 hours over a 5-day period.
Yeah, and again, it's a once in 100-year, event. I don't know that we should, increase staff or anything like that, require staff to live on site, anything like that. I don't think there's reasons to do anything like that. If they can't get here, they can't here. If they got COVID, it's an unusual situation, certainly. Anybody else? On that, you matter?
I'll just add, looking forward, I mean, I know within the budget to work on the guardhouse and the main gates, we already approved the east gate. So I'm sure we have money in the budget, and I'm sure we'll be having plans come forward after the east gate project, but the plan was to do the east gate first, so we make it build in better heating, better arrangements for the staff and future occurrences.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Okay, we have a few members, present in the audience. Does anybody there have a question, comment for the board? None. Let's see.
Leanne here.
Oh, Leanne?
Yeah, I wanted to, I think this comes from more than just Jared Smith, but I wanted to make sure and read it to you guys. He said, first of all, this is probably the last monthly board meeting for this group of 9 members. Thank you for serving on this board in our community and for your willingness to spend countless hours in serving Lake Kiowa and acting in the best interest of the community. The past 12 months have been unlike anything we've ever experienced. It's been clear that your efforts have kept our community safe, and you have been sensitive to the protocols and requirements handed down to us. The community is stronger because of you and a greater place to live. As we say a special thanks and a farewell to Rick Walker, Clark Enright, and Steve Wunderlich, we appreciate y'all so much for your community service as board members of Lake Kiowa. We appreciate you very much and hope you are able to kick back and enjoy your retirement at Lake Kiowa.
Thank you, Leanne, and thanks to Gerald. So, and thanks to my fellow board members. So it was quite the year. So, I think it happened like 2 weeks after we first got on the board when we set up the committee with Kathy. And again, I want to thank Kathy for that and her willingness to jump in. But what a year. And then on top of that, we have a blizzard. Oh, that's right. Yep. So budget meeting. Let's talk about that. before we adjourn, anybody have a particular date you want to do it for next Monday, Clark?
Whatever y'all want to do, I'm open. I'm back from all my trips. Don't have anything planned at all.
Yeah.
So we're busy till 4 o'clock, 1 to 4. Phone call? On the first. Yeah, on the first.
Do we think we can refine the numbers by next Monday?
Don't stretch it. It needs to be 2 weeks. I'd rather put a little more elbow grease.
Trying to catch up.
2 weeks, okay, so March 8th, we'll try to do that then.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock. Ryan, do we have something for executive session, or is that just a placeholder?
Just a placeholder.
Okay.
Wait, Mr. Clark?
Clark?
I'd like to move we adjourn.
Sam, okay, Sam beat Steve to that one, so.
No, I think Steve got it first.
I was looking the right way. Okay, all in favor of adjourning, say aye. All right, Steve, you for that too?